Well, hello again from here inside St James's Park. Now, forgive me if I'm shouting, but they're great lads, the ground staff, but they're out in force down below there with the lawnmowers. Give it a rest, boys. Let me record the video. You don't play again until Boxing Day. Now, in actual fact, they are one of the noisiest things about tonight, and I mean that in a positive, and I'll explain why. I've just asked the question of Eddie Howe downstairs there. You know, we came into this game talking about it being season defining. I bumped into a member of the coaching staff at tea time in the coffee shop there, and I said to him, this would be one of those occasions. I said in the preview video yesterday, didn't I, when St James's came together and those in the stands rode those on the pitch to victory. It didn't have to be that in the end, and Eddie Howe agreed with the point I was making. This tonight was clinical. It was lower key. There wasn't the emotion of 2 seasons ago when Newcastle beat Leicester, and this was Eddie Howe's words in that quarter-final. It felt more like a semi-final. There was Dan Burns' dance, there was everything afterwards, you know, the noise inside the ground. And listen, tonight was still a brilliant occasion. Newcastle got the job done, but the point I want to make is they did it without expending that emotional energy. They did it as if they belonged in the latter stages of cup competitions. There was a professionalism to them. There was a clinicalness. There was something ruthless about them. Yes, owed in large part to Sandro Tonali. I can't believe I've got 90 seconds in without mentioning the Italian. He was fantastic, and we'll explore all the reasons as to why. But the point I make is, one, Eddie really seemed to get on board with if you're going to be a team who gets to finals and semi-finals and makes a habit of it, you can't be emotionally spent every round you go through. By the time Newcastle got to the final against Manchester United 2 years ago, they were done for me pretty much before they stepped on the pitch. There'd been all that emotion of the quarter-final, of the semi-final, letters being read out by players in dressing rooms before the game, and it was wonderful and it was brilliant, and it felt like it was all part of that documentary and building towards this fairy tale end. But in the end, it fell flat. Tonight was better, and I like tonight for that reason. There didn't need to be this gargantuan effort from the stands. You guys turned up, there was singing from start to the end. Tell me more, the songs about Italian maestros from Milan and everything else. All of that was fantastic, but I think you get the point I'm making. Newcastle looked there tonight as if there is a team turning up to play a quarter-final, on to the next one, into the semi-final, and that's what they're going to have to do. I left here tonight with far more confidence and assurance about where they're going, not raising themselves for the occasion, for those big teams. They've got to move away from the idea of only turning up for quarterfinals, semi-finals, or in the league against Liverpool or Arsenal or Manchester City. Just turn up and do it, like they did on Saturday against Leicester, like they've done here tonight. It was just a low-key, in many ways, and take that in the right way, a low-key continuation to a week that we build as absolutely huge. In the end, they're negotiating it with absolute minimal fuss, and isn't that where you've got to be, where you want to be if you are going to be that top team? Nonetheless, the performance was good. It wasn't brilliant. It didn't have to be brilliant, much like Leicester on Saturday. Brentford came here, made some bizarre changes to the team, didn't play Brian and Buemo, and Newcastle took full advantage of that. They were in control from start to finish without having to be fantastic, really. But they were clinical. I've already used that word in one man in particular. It wasn't necessarily signed to score goals, but with Newcastle's only 2 shots on target in the first half, they scored both times. That is a reversal of what was going earlier in the season. They had an XG of half a goal at half time, and they'd scored twice. That again is where the good teams are. They take those chances, even half chances, when they come along, and that's what Tonali did, and they've gone through into a semi-final, and yeah, it's okay. On to the next one. I thought they were good, I thought they were professional. I'm going to say it again, they were clinical, they were ruthless. I'll tell you who else are clinical, the ground staff. In the 5 minutes we've spent chatting, they've managed to mow the entire pitch there, so on we go with improved sound quality. Now, speaking of improvement, wasn't Newcastle's performance on Saturday and there again tonight an improvement in terms of how they use the ball? They're just moving it quicker, and they're moving it into better areas, and we're seeing the likes of Anthony Gordon more tonight than Alexander Isak. Gordon profiting from that, getting the ball in space, and that is because of Sandro Tonali. Now, we gave a masterclass tonight in finishing, but that passing and that overall play is there, and it was a question I asked of Eddie afterwards when I said, you know, how has it taken this long to come to the conclusion that he is best in the 6? And Eddie, you know, he's on the record now saying that he is far more comfortable Tonali. That looks like it is the solution. That is where he's got to stay. Well, he said, you know, we signed him as a 6 and an 8, always with that belief that he could play both positions. But when you've got Bruno in the 6 and he's doing well, Tonali had to fit in somewhere else. Well, tonight what I loved, for the first time I think tonight, we saw them actually dovetailing off each other. There was one chance in the first half where Tonali looked as he was going to go through for his hat-trick. It would have been incredible. It would have brought the house down and sent the roof off into orbit when Bruno's teed him up and he just slightly overruns it. How many times did they bounce off each other, even though they are in slightly different positions now? I thought they'd come together for the first time. They've been very good individually the last couple, but yeah, there's that spark, that understanding, all the narrative and all the talk we've given to can Bruno and Tonali play together. Tonight, I thought the two of them were fantastic, individually and collectively as a pair, and we will get to the merit marks. But what does tonight do for the season? We called this week's season defining. I haven't rowed back on that. I'm just rowing back on how I thought Newcastle would get to this point. I thought it would take all of that effort, and I come back to that word emotion. Well, it hasn't, and it keeps the season alive. It just injects that enthusiasm and that excitement, knowing that there is that semi-final on the horizon in January. And while a couple of seasons ago, the run in the League Cup acted as a distraction to the league and the league form dipped, I honestly think this time it could be different. Because Newcastle are going about it with less fuss, I do think it gives them that chance to create a momentum, to create a feel-good, to create excitement in the stands and amongst the squad as well. For all the reasons we've explored in the past few videos, you know, that realisation that the Carabao Cup, this is their holy grail now, this is their mecca. Premier League and Champions League, that can wait. That might just be for a different squad, a different generation, 2, 3, 4 years down the line. And the immediacy of this season and now the Carabao Cup, wow, what a chance they've got to earn that 70-year wait for a domestic trophy. The semi-finals won't be easy given the makeup of them. And who would you like in that? I'll get to that later in the video. I've got my own little theory on it. But they've done what they had to do, and all of a sudden in the space of 5 or 6 days now, there is such a better feel around this place. Now the game itself, how did it go? Now I thought it was pretty clear from the off that Newcastle were probably going to have it their own way. Like I say, Brentford's team selection and Newcastle's team selection, unchanged, strongest 11. We knew it was going to be. I thought that was almost 1-0 to Newcastle before kick-off. But they do kick off, and what I was encouraged about straight away was the sight, I think within about a minute and a half, I made a note on my pad. Bruno burst from the number 8 and got him behind. You love to see that. All of that talk about, you know, how would he perform, taken away from the comfort of what looked like that number 6 position. He's thriving for me in the number 8, as we suspected he might do, as we explored in that video a few weeks ago. That set the tone straight away then. It's after 9 minutes that the opening goal comes, because you are worrying as much as you think Newcastle are going to have it their own way and they look like the better team. You know, could this be one of those nights where it drifts? Well, we didn't have to wait too long for the answer to that. 9 minutes in, it's Tino Livramento this time. We haven't seen enough of that, I think, as well as Livramento and more so Hall have done of late. I don't think they're getting, especially in the case of Livramento, I don't think they're getting to the byline enough and offering enough in an attacking perspective. Certainly from what we saw of Livramento and his skill set last season. Well, he gets into the box on the overlap there. The cross comes in, it's half cleared, and it comes to Tonali. Now, when I wrote an article ahead of Tonali's return, I spoke to as many different people as possible to get an idea, a picture of what sort of player was coming back. And I always remember one quote I got from inside the club, and that was that in his time out, he's developed the hardest shot at the football club, because after training, when everyone else was going to have to recover or do different sort of sessions, Tonali was staying out blasting balls at the reserve goalkeepers. Told the younger goalkeepers their palms would be stinging come the end of these sessions with Tonali. Well, we hadn't really seen that. I wrote it and I felt a little bit silly, because for the first 3, 4, 5 games back, Sandro Tonali didn't really have a shot. Wow, did he have a shot there tonight. It comes out to him 25 yards out, first time, and that technique, look at the replay, look at the pictures of the body shape, it's just absolutely majestic. He catches it sweet. Now, Mark Flecken, someone said he was unsighted. I don't care if he had the best view in the house, he wasn't saving that regardless, even if he'd seen it all the way. It whistles in to the bottom corner, and you know just then the tone, the story is set. After that, they have 1 or 2 other little chances. Anthony Gordon, who I thought had a very good game, got away on the left. I just wish he'd back himself a little bit more. He was up against, I think it was big Christoph Ajer. You know, if Gordon backs himself to beat him and just take him on and dribble past him, it's probably 2-0. He actually works half a yard and then puts the shot over the bar. I was talking about this with one of my colleagues before. Is he perhaps trying a little bit too hard, because Gordon's performances are coming back, certainly in terms of the all-round game and that threat. He just needs to start adding those goals now, which we know he is capable of. Don't forget, 11 in all comps last season. So they're pushing for the second goal. It looks like it's coming, but it comes in a manner we probably didn't expect, even though Tonali had got the first one. It's a set piece. Anthony Gordon floats it to the penalty spot. Tonali is waiting there. Now, Joe Linton does a brilliant job in blocking off a defender. Tonali leaves the turf, catches it, it's absolute picture book. I think it's better than the goal he scored at that end against Aston Villa. It wasn't dissimilar in terms of it being a flying volley, but this one was harder. To get that technique, you know, he leaves the turf, you guys leave your seats when it hits the back of the net. It's just absolutely stunning. Forget the slight little deflection it took. I think it was going in anyway, and it's just, wow, it's just brilliant. And he's got the goals, which are reward for his performances the last few, you know, moved into number 6, but he is number 1 on the team sheet now. Everything we'd sort of called for in terms of him going in that central midfield role, isn't he just thriving for it? And I think he brings to the team now. Newcastle just looked far more settled and they looked far more functioning with the right players in the right positions. Gordon on the left, Tonali in the 6, Bruno, as we said, looking better for it in the number 8. And if the ball comes out to Bruno on the edge of the box there, in that same position as Tonali for the first goal, does he take the shot first time? I don't think he does. I think he takes a touch. Likewise, and we'll fast forward now to the third goal when Bruno steals in there and recycles the ball and pulls it back for Fabian Schär for 3-0 on 69 minutes. Does Tonali get in that position if he's in the 8? I honestly believe the two of them are perfectly suited now to having switched to being that 6 and 8. And we don't have to make the pleas to say, keep it that way, they've got to stay there. I think Eddie knows that now. Everybody else does. And it has, and it will be, I use this phrase now, and I'm going to keep on with it, the key to unlocking this season. That midfield riddle, the middle in the riddle, the conundrum that nobody could solve. We all had answers, we all had solutions. Well, it's there now, and it's in the form of those two. And yes, they can play together, just not in the way they were this way. Now, a few little newsy items to clear up on, of course, the two suspensions. Bruno Guimaraes and Fabian Schär both booked in the first half, means they will miss the first leg of the semi-final. Now, Bruno, in terms of replacement, that probably will be fairly easy. Not that it's easy to replace Bruno, but there are options there. Sean Longstaff comes back from suspension. Louis Miley, who was on the bench there tonight, will probably be 2 or 3 weeks closer to match fitness. And Joe Willock, he is the obvious one. He came on at half-time tonight for Joe Linton. Joe Linton, by the way, it was an awful incident in the first half when Nathan Collins lands on his ear, cuts his ear. He's gone off the hospital now for further investigation, but of course he's suspended for Ipswich on Saturday anyway. But Joe Willock, when he came on in the second half, that's the best he's played in a few weeks there, galloping up and down the turf, was creating chances, was having a couple of shots of his own. And this is encouraging as well, because when other players step up, like Tonali and like Bruno, perhaps it will bring more out of those who have now found themselves in reserve, like Joe Willock. So it's a big loss, Bruno in the middle, but the bigger loss perhaps is Fabian Schär at the back, because by that point it's probably still touch and go for Emil Kraft being fit, even though Eddie Howe just said to us that he has a chance. Sven Botman, they don't want to push. It's too big with Botman to risk any sort of setback. They want to get a couple of more games into him, be that with the 21s or behind closed doors matches. So I wouldn't be expecting him to start a semi-final first leg in the first week of January. So that is a little bit of a concern at right centre-half for Newcastle coming out of tonight. Now, we were just debating downstairs who would be the best opponent out of the teams left in it. Liverpool one tonight, Arsenal, and of course there's Manchester United, Tottenham tomorrow night. If you assume Tottenham go through playing at home, now I would pick Spurs. And my reasoning is, my rationale is that when you play at Tottenham up here, Newcastle, and even if it's the first leg, they'll probably go there with a 4-goal advantage. I just believe Newcastle have got a little something over Spurs out of those teams left in it. Now you can make an argument for Newcastle over 2 legs, especially if the second leg is back here. Now that would require an occasion. I said tonight wasn't as raucous as perhaps we expected it to be, because it didn't have to be. I think the second leg against Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United would absolutely need to be, and it would be too. But I can make a case for Newcastle beating any of them, given the priorities of those others. Certainly Liverpool and Arsenal maybe do lie elsewhere, but that's for down the line. The good thing on Newcastle is that it now feels as if coming out of 2024 into 25, they're running in to a better place. I said on Saturday you wouldn't like to talk about corners turn just yet, especially not when this lot can drive you around the bend, but I do just believe that they're able to perhaps just peer around it for now, if not yet fully around that corner. There's been really encouraging signs there. Now, the merit stars in ascending order, and I'm saying this a lot, and this is a good thing, there are a lot of candidates here again tonight, and the 1 star, well, that goes to Anthony Gordon. I've already touched on, I still want to see more in terms of him converting on those opportunities of promise into goals. But he was live and he just sets the tone and play him on the left. Is it any surprise he's looked far happier on the left wing in the last few games? He himself has run into a really good, rich vein of form now. And I do think with that, And with that confidence in himself, mentally and physically, you will start adding those goals and even more assists to his game. Of course, he set up the Tonali goal with the lovely floated corner. So Gordon is back in a good place. I do think it's helped not having the punctuation of the England games as well. So Anthony Gordon, a worthy recipient of 1 star. I thought he was electric tonight, a real live wire. 2 stars, well, this goes to a player I've already talked about, Bruno Guimaraes. Quiet at times in the first half, but I thought the second half, he really turned it on. There was one lovely little flick to create a chance for Jacob Murphy. Sadly, it came to Jacob Murphy on his left foot and he put it wide. But Bruno in the second half, he was magic at times. And between himself and Tonali, I thought they ran the midfield and they ran the game. So Bruno Guimaraes, 2 stars. And the 3, okay, we didn't have to go this far without you guys guessing who will be the worthy recipient. I gave Tonali an 8.5 out of 10 in the Daily Mail. And for those of you who know how strict my marking scheme is, in the paper, yeah, that is lofty indeed. How can it not be? 2 goals allied as well to that performance where it's just the passes. I love the passes. The first time crisp forward balls that take Newcastle upfield with pace and urgency. It's exactly what the team has been crying out for all season. But the 2 goals, and they're putting Newcastle in that commanding position where without it, we've seen games like this earlier in the season. Brighton, West Ham at home, where they've had that possession in that territory and haven't been able to convert on it. I come back to that word again, convert. Well, they did tonight because of Tonali. He was just absolutely fantastic. And Eddie Howe spoke so warmly of him afterwards. All of the issues and everything he's been through with regards to the gambling ban, to be able to show now what a player he is. And, you know, we've debated it on this video and on social media a lot. And there were those who backed Tonali. And, you know, that's good. He needed that support. But that hadn't been backed up by evidence on the pitch in terms of his performance. It's only since he's gone to that number 6 that we've seen the player we all thought resided in there. I think we were kidding ourselves if we looked at him in number 8 and argued and said, no, he's fantastic, he's brilliant. There had to be that change, and only since the change has he seized that responsibility and looked like the player we all hoped he would be. And boy, did he look like that there tonight. Even take away the 2 goals, he's just in such a good place right now. And that place is number 6. I'll say it just for the sake of it. We said in every video, keep him there. We know he'll stay there. He's brilliant. That is the key. Well, that's it for me for now, guys. I'm not going to overcomplicate. I'm not going to go on for too long. Newcastle didn't here tonight. I hope this video has married their performance. Simple, clinical, and to the point. Now, I'll see you again on Monday when I'll be up at the training ground talking to Eddie Howe ahead of the game against Aston Villa. Sadly, I'm not down at Ipswich this weekend. Got a couple of family things on and things with friends as well. So if you are out and about, I'll be out on Saturday afternoon up and down Grey Street in Newcastle. I'm actually putting on for my friends a football-themed Christmas quiz. So come along, see if you can answer some of the questions if you do bump into me, and please say hello. But no, guys, I'm sure you would have enjoyed tonight, and I hope you take the point I mean in terms of just, yeah, they turned up, they did it, on to the semi-final, and that is the big occasion. That is the one where it will need the 52,000 coming together with those 11 on the pitch tonight. Well, it was a little bit more straightforward, and I think that is a good thing. Please tell me what you think. Who deserved the stars? Did I get it wrong? What do you think of the atmosphere here tonight? What do you think of where Newcastle are at right now after these 2 games, with another big one to come to round off the week against Ipswich on Saturday? Please hit like, comment, subscribe, interact. It's always so clean, so pure. I really do love it, and I can't appreciate it enough. The last couple of videos have been so well watched, and I've tried to get through as many comments as I possibly can. I can't get to all of them. I do reply to some, and you know, that interaction and the appreciation back from you guys as well is appreciated. How many more times do I need to say appreciate? I'm sure you've appreciated what's happened here tonight inside St James's Park. Okay, good night, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.